Imagine you're on your summer vacation and you need to take some well-deserved R&R. You don't want to go to Europe, so you decide to go to Mexico instead. After all, you have a cousin that lives over there, and you decide that you're going to visit him while you're on your vacation. On your way to your cousin's house, you decide to take one of the local taxi services and a reputable route that you've taken many times. All of a sudden, gunfire erupts, and you find yourself caught between a battle of two of Mexico's most violent cartels. You narrowly escape with your life. Good morning. My name is Carlos Isaac, and I'm going to tell you about some of the dangers U.S. citizens face while traveling to Mexico. I'm going to talk to you about the number of U.S. citizens that travel to Mexico every year, the reasons why U.S. citizens travel to Mexico, the violence facing U.S. citizens when they travel to Mexico, reasons behind the violence, and some of the things you could do to be safe while you travel to Mexico. On July 12, 2013, the United States State Department issued warnings for U.S. citizens while traveling to Mexico. Did you know that there are 150,000 visitors that travel to Mexico every day? And in 2012, the State Department reported that there were 20 million U.S. citizens that visited Mexico in that year. So why do U.S. citizens travel to Mexico? Well, according to the blog, theplanetd.com, Reasons to Visit Mexico, U.S. citizens travel to Mexico because it's affordable, because of the cuisine, because of the weather, and the awesome vacation packages that they are offered. And that's just to name a few. I'll now tell you the kind of violence facing U.S. citizens while they travel to Mexico. The Mexican government has been at war with transnational criminal organizations, or the TCO. Americans have been killed, carjacked, robbed, and kidnapped. The State Department reported that in 2011, 113 U.S. citizens were murdered. And the following year, 2012, 111 U.S. citizens were murdered. Now, this does not mean that these transnational organizations are targeting U.S. citizens solely on their U.S. nationality. Some of these incidents occurred of U.S. citizens just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This brings me to my next point. What is the reasons for this violence? Well, it's simple. These criminal organizations are at war because they want to control the trafficking routes for their drugs, and they also want to control the flow of money that they get from sexual exploitation of women and human trafficking. If you do travel to Mexico, there are a couple things you can do to be safe. Number one, you can travel during the daytime when you travel through the cities. And number two, you want to tone down your profile. This means just toning down. If you wear jewelry and rings, you want to tone it down. You don't want to look like a wealthy tourist. Now I'll go over some of the topics I spoke to you about. I gave you some info on the number of Americans that travel to Mexico, which is 20 million in 2012. I told you about some of the reasons why we travel to Mexico, because of the affordability, the weather, etc. And I told you about the violence, such as kidnappings, killings. I also told you about the reasons for the violence, that being drugs, control of drugs, the drug routes, and human trafficking. And I told you about some tips to be safe, such as toning down, lowering your profile, and also traveling during the daytime. I hope this information has been helpful to you whenever you decide to travel to Mexico. And remember, be safe out there. Thank you for your time, and thank you